Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। ॐ
Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or as we all know it by now, KYG. Thank you as always for taking time for attending this satsang and all these satsangs, gracing these satsangs with your presence. So together our souls unite and create a divine vibration that will provide sustenance, physical sustenance, mental sustenance, spiritual sustenance for those who need it in any part of these universes that exist in our consciousness. That is how closely we are connected. In today's satsang, we are getting into one of the innermost circles of the Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra, as we know, is a dynamic spiritual energy, a snapshot of that is available to us as the yantra. But the Sri Chakra is not a static yantra. Nor are any of those yantras, any of the chakras, any of the yantras that are done, are provided to us in those from the ancient times. They are all snapshots at one given point in time to the enlightened souls who then gave it to us so that we could carve our path to enlightenment. So with hearts full of gratitude to the great teachers and especially to the divine teacher Adi Shankara, who contributed so much towards this knowledge through his divine writings of Saundarya Lahari and so on, has taught us that the Sri Chakra is not outside of us, but we are all embodiments and we carry this energy within us. And all of these 180 odd divine deities that we invoke are all energy points in our body and mind and spirit. So let us go to this Sri Chakra today, and we are now in the seventh avarana, the seventh gate, if you will. Like I always say, there is not the right word. Avarana could be a sheath, avarana is a gate. Nevertheless, you get an idea that this is the seventh one, and you have the eighth and the ninth that is left. So these are the last three, perhaps the most powerful, the most important, and perhaps the most difficult to experience. But nevertheless, if we put it away saying it's too much for me and too difficult for me, then the path is closed already. But if we say that how many of our lifetimes it takes, it doesn't matter. I will continue learning and meditating on these shaktis, invoking these shaktis in all aspects of my life, then they begin to manifest. Today, in this class, in the seventh avarana, we learn about these deities that manifest in us. So where is the seventh avarana? You will see in the Sri Chakra, which almost seems complete but not quite right, quite there yet. The seventh chakra is a set of 8 triangles. We did the 8 petals. Before that there were the 8 corners. So from 8 corners to 8 petals, now we come to 8 triangles. That in itself is a subject for contemplation. You can take it up and understand that how the number 8 has manifested in 3 different forms to us in the study and in this journey of Sri Chakra. All these shapes, all the number of them are all having deeper significance and affect our unconscious and subconscious mind. So that is where it is. If you see, I'll try and see if I can make it blink in and out. There you go. You see the slight blinking there is the innermost circle, and after that comes you are in the sanctum sanctorum, literally, of the Devi for the 8th avarana. And in the 9th avarana, it is just her. So what is the 7th avarana, and what is there for us to learn in this? Let us explore. As always, we enter this portal, this divine learning, with great reverence. And so we do a pradakshina as we contemplate on the number 8 that is available to us the 3rd time in the Sri Chakra. This is perhaps the only number that has really come to us 3 times again in different forms. So it is worth considering. And in the last time as it comes to us, what is the divine trying to indicate? What is it seeking from us? How do we make this chakra awake and alive? So let's explore that one by one. The first one in this chakra, the Devi who manifests here, is known as Vashini. Vashini. Now, for many of you who are from India, who know Hindi and Sanskrit, there is Vashikaranam, Vashikaran. There are mantras for Vashikaran. Vashini means control. Vashini. It's a sh, because over the S, you'll see there is a small stroke over the S, so it makes it sh. Not Vashini, but Vasha. Sh as in Sheila. Vashini. So, Vashini is about control. In the 7th avarana, they come and settle in your consciousness. This is the greatest blessing. That's why I call 7th, 8th, 9th is the innermost circle. So each of these Shaktis are consolidations of all the other Shaktis that we experienced earlier, and they manifest permanently, settle in our consciousness. So this avarana, the 7th avarana, is an avarana. This gate is, this is where celebration begins. This is where blessings begin to flow. Here there is literally no scope for contemplation, meditation. It begins to manifest. All of these Devis begin to give darshan. Right? So it's a very beautiful experience. As you practice this sadhana, as you begin to meditate on each chakra, each avarana, take a few months on each avarana, understand each one, begin to assimilate it into your system. In other words, into your body, into your breath, into your mind, into your words, everything, the more alive they become. And then the 7th avarana comes, you will literally get blessed by each of these Devis. Control is more about self-control. It will be given to you. You don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, you just think about something and you will be able to manifest that. You'll be able to have that control, the effort that is required to make something happen. You will get the energy, the strength, the stamina, the creativity, the ideas, the resources. Everything will be provided to you because she is awakened now. She keeps everything under control, her control. There is no place from the 7th for Sunder to exist. There is no place. This is where Sunder begins to completely go out of the picture. Otherwise, there is no entrance beyond this. You cannot go beyond this. Sunder cannot experience 8th and 9th. He experiences, he is grateful as he surrenders to the seven deities that manifest in his consciousness. And then the soul begins to merge into the ocean. The river begins to merge into the ocean. It begins to lose its identity. And that's it. So 8th and 9th is a matter of the final emergence. So that is Vashini. And we'll explore that a little more. There is a very beautiful lesson that was revealed to me. That's how I take it. And I'm just sharing the way these lessons have been revealed to me. The second one is Kameshwari, desires. Kameshwari, desires again is a loose word. Kameshwari is, let's stick to desires because I'm just not getting another word for it. But the idea is every thought that has to manifest, or every object that has to manifest, every experience that has to manifest in your life is first planted by this deity as a desire, and she gives you the energy to manifest it as well. So here the time between desires and manifestation becomes more and more smaller and smaller and smaller because she just decides. This is a desire and this is going to manifest through you, through me. We become instruments of these energies. That's why I said this is where Sunder begins to slowly go out of the picture. That means you and I, that we identify ourselves now, all of these, we have to simply get out of the way. Kameshwari, the energy of desires, comes and settles in your consciousness. Desires is unfortunately, a very misunderstood concept in spirituality. It is looked down upon generally, and it's very popular to say, oh, desires are bad, I don't want desires, how do I overcome desires, and so on. That is at one level, yes, it is true. But yearning for self-realization is also a desire, right? Seeking to help someone else is also a desire in your heart. So desire by itself is not a wrong energy. It's a very, very, very powerful energy. But if you take that powerful energy and use it for very little things, then we miss the point of this divine energy. But when she manifests, finally, in the seventh Avarna, then she gives you the desires, she gives you the path to fulfill it as well. She will also present the resources to fulfill, because now she has decided. When I say she, I'm talking of the divine consciousness. In this case, it is the Devi herself, the Shakti principle, right? She has decided to manifest in our consciousness when we reach the stage. And as she manifests, now she has to have her kingdom alive with abundance, riches and everything. So whatever she wishes has to happen. And therefore, it begins to flow through us. That is why we say Lakshmi is abundance. The idea of that is when they manifest, they will take over. That's all. There is no such thing as I want a yellow shirt, or I want a red shirt, or I want a Tesla, and I want a BMW, or I want a home. All that is beggar mentality. There is no wanting in desires. Wanting is there in cravings. And as long as you have craving and wanting, these kind of energies will never manifest. So sometimes we get confused between wanting or craving and desires. Don't get confused between the two. Desire is a very powerful spiritual energy that is implanted in us. All evolution is based on desire to live long, to live happy, to seek happiness. It's all based on that fundamental desire energy. So Kameshwari is such a powerful energy, she finally manifests herself and she sits there. Okay? Because the ultimate desire is union with Shiva. So Kameshwara and Kameshwari. Kameshwara is Shiva. He is pining for her. I mean, there's no pining, there's no separation. Actually, they are the same. So Kameshwara, the ultimate desire is oneness. So Shiva and Shakti, Kameshwari and Kameshwara, are completely in the state of mergence. So Kameshwari, she settles in this. She comes and settles. Where, which part of the body, and how we can actually experience this in a sadhana, I'll come to that in a bit. So Kameshwari. Then comes the third one. This is Modinye. Modinye. Madam, we say, right? Madam, mada, joy, intoxicated joy. It's not just normal joy. It's not a joy that comes out of senses, right? We watch something on TV, we laugh, we are happy. We have got friends with us, families with us, and we are celebrating perhaps a party or a birthday or something, or a wedding or a birth of a child. Everybody's happy. We say, oh, this is such a joyous occasion. Yes, it is. But those kind of joys have a beginning and an end, a distinct beginning and a distinct end, right? But this joy, once it settles, there is no reason for this joy. There is no season for this joy. It just exists. And it keeps you so intoxicated, a part of you or a full, depending on how much they manifest. They keep you so intoxicated that there is no time for you to do anything else. And that's why you get slowly, you begin to gravitate towards this highest intoxication, highest joy. Joy is a better word than intoxication, but I'm using the word intoxication mindfully because that is the literal meaning of Modinye. But the word intoxication has its own excuse me, negative relevance and references today. So let's stick to joy. It is a joy which has no reason, no season. Unending joy. When I was in Baba's room, this is what I saw. I mean, sometimes he would express it. He will just laugh for no reason. He will chuckle for no reason. But watching him, and by Baba I mean my guru, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, we had many occasions, and hundreds of students like me had occasions to observe him at close quarters. And so, what I can speak for myself, I saw this level of intoxication. There was something that kept him always in a state of it. He would close his eyes and he would suddenly be so distant from us, so far away from us. And you would know at that moment, it's just silence. And in that silence, you begin to understand the distance between you and him, though he is just about a foot or 2 feet away from you. He closes his eyes and gets into that intoxicated mood. Many, many, many times, hundreds of times, when we would sing bhajans, he would go into this. I don't believe he would come out and go into this mood like I talk about it. That's the only way we can express it. But I believe he was always in that state of intoxication, a state of joy, a state of bliss, if you will, because that energy was in full bloom in him. That is the beauty of that energy. You would not, there will be no reason for sadness, negativity, or anything to come into the consciousness once Modinye establishes herself. This is why Adi Shankara and everyone talks to us about spirituality. This is why spirituality has been always the search for the next stage in evolution. What is it? It is the spirit. And once we touch there, the joy that we are seeking in an ice cream or in a movie or in a relationship or in a job or in some physical riches, all that fades into insignificance. These joys become minuscule compared to the joy that one experiences. If you read the Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he talks to you about this kind of joy. He says it's like an ocean of the highest pleasure senses can offer. Take it and multiply it and create a huge ocean. And this is like that. So trying to help us get an idea of what is this true joy we're talking about. Modinye. Then comes Vimala. Vimala means purity. We have come across this earlier as well. So finally she manifests and she will once and for all settle. There is no, Vimala is purity. By purity, what we are talking here, we are not referring to moral purity and things like that. Then we are again getting caught between good and bad, pure and impure, sin and merit and so on, punyam and papam and so on. We are not talking about that because now we are going beyond all of that. Vimala, therefore, is what? That's why the words that I'm using in English has antonyms as well, right? Pure means impure. So there is a sense of relativity there. But that's the best I can do with these Sanskrit translations. However, it needs this kind of explanation. Vimala, the purity that we are talking about is going beyond conditions, going beyond qualities, going beyond good and bad, the idea of good and bad. So that is the Vimala. Purity is, basically understand it as conditioned mindset. We have conditioned ourselves, right? If you ask me, okay, what's my religion? I'll say it's Hinduism or it's Sanatana Dharma, I'll say. And then what are the tenets of that religion? I will blurt it out like a parrot. I'll tell you what is good, what is bad, what is taught to me. So I have conditioned myself as per the tenets of this faith that is taught to me. I have conditioned myself in my belief systems. Right? Everything is a condition. And those kind of conditions are all impure. All kinds of conditions are impure. They are all binding. All of them are binding. So Baba would tell us a very beautiful analogy. He has mentioned this very rarely. You might find it in a couple of his discourses maybe. Or you might have heard about this. So this analogy here, because to understand what is purity, because we often in spiritual progress, we often get caught in this one big trap. And that's why Vimala never manifests. Because you're either judging somebody as good or bad, some music as good or bad, some scene as good or bad, some person as good or bad, some situation, some country, some political figure, whoever it is, whether it's a person, place, thing, experience, we have a label whether it was a good one or a bad one. And especially in the spiritual path, we call it impure, pure, and all of that, right? And the worst is we carry a guilt with us. In purity, you go back to being the 1-year-old, or maybe even 2-year-old, or 3-year-old. If you tell them, say sorry, they'll say, what does that mean? How do you explain sorry to a 2-year-old? How do you explain thank you to a 2-year-old? They don't understand that. Because at that stage, the spirit is very free and pure. That's why they are beautiful, right? That's why they are beautiful, because that consciousness there is pure. So think of that. We have to go back to that state of innocence. Again, we saw this in Baba. He would suddenly become like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old. When he's watching a play, he makes all those expressions, and the character is crying. His eyes become sad, and his whole face becomes sad. Visually, you can see it there at that moment. He becomes one with the character. Just like 2-3-year-old watching a cartoon on the television. It's a beautiful experience to see that. So that kind of purity flows. So in his eyes, there are no sinners, there are no saints. Everybody is the same. That's why Jesus walked into the tax collector's hut, right? And he got Saint Matthew, who gave us the Bible, a version of the Bible. So Matthew was a tax collector. Everybody said, oh my God, he walked into a tax collector's place. It was a blasphemy those days. How could Jesus do that? Isn't he the Son of God? How could he do that? But for Jesus, there is no such thing, because it is that Vimala. They're in that state. Once that state is reached, you will have no reason to blame anyone. You will find every soul is fulfilling its purpose. However difficult it is for us to understand it at that point. So Baba would tell us this analogy. He tells us about 3 robbers sitting outside the prison cell. All of them are handcuffed. All of them are waiting to go into their cells. One man has got gold handcuffs on his wrists. The person sitting next to him has got silver handcuffs on his wrists. And the third guy has got the regular iron or steel handcuffs. Each one of them must have done something. The gold person, or rather the person who's having gold handcuffs on his wrist, looks down upon the iron and the silver handcuffs. The guys who are wearing the silver and the iron handcuffs. He looks down upon them and he laughs and he says, you guys are worthless. Look at that. I'm going to the jail, but I have gold handcuffs. And the silver guy says, yeah, I may not have it like you, but look at me. He looks at the iron guy wearing the iron handcuffs and he says, look at you, man, you're the worst. I at least have silver handcuffs. We have some value. And then this man who has the iron handcuffs looks at both of them and say, your handcuffs may be much more valuable than mine, but let us not forget, they are still handcuffs. You don't have that freedom. You have the same freedom or you have no freedom, exactly as I do. That cannot be changed. So keep wearing your gold handcuffs. But remember, you still have them and they are handcuffs. That is a very powerful analogy. So if you go back to that slide and watch that word, Vimala, you will know that we are talking of purity. There are no handcuffs here. That child doesn't know what is fear. It doesn't know what belongs to him or her and who doesn't belong. The child doesn't know parent from a stranger. That's why adoption is done at a very early age, right? Because at that point, there is no I, there is no mind. There is no condition, there is no good, there is no bad, nothing. Vimala. If it is a moment to cry, the child cries. The next moment, the moment presents itself to be happy, the child says, oh, I'll be happy. And immediately there's a smile and giggle. So you can quickly make a crying child, smile. But come to an adult who is sad, try to make him happy. You need a psychiatrist, you need to schedule appointments, you need medicines. Why? Because now he's conditioned himself or herself to being sad. That spontaneity, that purity is lost. So it is in that context we have to understand purity. Vimala. That's why these are all divine energies. Then comes a beautiful energy. Aruna. Aruna. The word Aruna is used for Shakti or Devi by many authors. Right from sage Agastya and so on. In Dhyana slokas of the Lalita Sahasranama, this word comes. Aruna is a very beautiful word. Aruna means the sun. What kind of sun? Is it the hot, fiery sun? No. Is it the setting sun? No. It is the rising sun. A rising sun looks ahead, carves his path for the whole day. He is rising with all confidence and positivity, right? Divinity rising is compared to the rising sun. So this energy of Devi who manifests in us, this divine deity who will manifest as Aruna, she begins to rise. She begins to awaken our consciousness. That's why I said, when Sunder is the night, Sunder has to go down, Aruna, she will awaken. All of these energies will awaken and they all come to 3 and 3 becomes 1. So that journey is their journey. That is a game they are playing. You and I are just nothing. We are absolutely nothing. We are smoke, creations of smoke, if you will. We just enjoy this part of being a minuscule part in this cosmic play. It's a concept that is very difficult to accept, especially in today's world where everything is about I, me and mine. This stage, it will be completely foreign and perhaps you will never even experience it if it is about I need to experience it. That desire has to first go. They will manifest, they will experience it. When I say they, it is these 7 energies. Finally, it is this one, Mahabhattarika or Devi. She experiences all of this, right? So Aruna is a rising sun, a very beautiful energy that begins to manifest and flow through us. Then comes Jainya. Jainya, Jaya, 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 we say, right? So Jaya is Jaya, Jainya is victorious. Ujjayi, breath we talk about in yoga. This powerful breath that comes through the throat is Ujjayi, Jayi comes, right? The victorious breath. The breath, Ujjayi, the rising breath, the victorious breath. So Jaya is a very beautiful name again. Jai. So Jainya is victorious. The energy of victory is a deity that manifests once and for all. These deities, once they begin to open their eyes and manifest in our consciousness, they don't become dormant, because at this stage there is no question of becoming lax in our spiritual path. In other words, in other deities, as we begin in the Sri Chakra, we talked about how these deities are all existing, but they are dormant. We awaken them, they come alive. Then if we move away from the path, in other words, we allow distractions to come and we go in and out, what happens is they go back to being dormant. They're not angry with you, they don't punish you, they just go back to being dormant, because these are energies waiting for us. It's like a check is given to you, a banker's check is given to you, and your dad says, yeah, take it and go have a good vacation, right? But you don't use it. The check is not allowed to express its energy. So the energy, the power of the check is dormant within the check. And where is that check? In your pocket. That's all. Why wouldn't you use that check? Well, it's a matter of choice. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't know, you forgot, whatever it is. Or you get distracted. But the check is dormant. So too with all the other energies. But these energies, once the 7th Avarna, when we come to that point when 7th Avarna begins to open, life changes completely. It's no longer under your control. Jainya. So victory. When does failure occur? One may ask. Again, we talk about, when we say use these words, there are antonyms in English. When we say victory, but then there is also failure in the unconscious, right? So when we are chasing victory, is not failure following us then? Because that's what happens in relative world. Failure is when you stop trying. You are a failure. Or you experience failure. When you don't stop trying, every effort of yours is an expression of victory. the dormant victory energy is manifesting through you. Every moment you're putting the effort. If it doesn't work the first time, you put in effort again. And you put in the third time, you put in the fourth time. Of course, now you start using common sense. You invoke other energies in your intelligence, in your body if necessary, whatever resources are required. You put in more and more and more effort. Then you're victorious at every stage, including the final stage, when it will manifest. It never goes without manifesting. May not be in our time, but it'll always happen in the divine time. So victory is there. But when we try it once, twice, and then we say it's not for me, I give up, then in that path, you have experienced failure. You not experienced the achievement. It's okay. It's okay to change your mind and say, that's not for me. It's all right. But then if you want to go there and you feel you cannot go there, it's too much effort. Every time I take a step, something goes wrong with me. Why am I being tested? And I just want to give up. I feel like giving up. Then failure comes. There is no God waiting to say, oh, poor thing, let us now give them the easier path. It doesn't work like that. I wish enlightenment was so easy. We are talking of real self-enlightenment here. We are not talking of pleasing a deity sitting somewhere up who takes pity on us. That's nice poetry. That's getting our emotions, clearing our emotions, getting into that Vimala state where we want to clear off our conditions, get ourselves free from guilt and all of that. But once you enter this stage of victory, there is hard work. I will not stop till my goal is reached. Then automatically victory is in your hand. So never give up, especially in the spiritual path. And if your inner spiritual path is strong, then in all aspects of your external life, you will never give up. You will devise ways and means to achieve success in whatever task you have taken upon yourself to complete, and you will see it to completion. That is divinity working through you. So in this, the ultimate victory energy comes. She manifests. Look at each of these energies, how powerful they are. They have come once and for all, settling in your consciousness, because now you're entering the inner sanctum sanctorum. You can't enter those with these, with anything less than these. Then comes the next one, and that is Sarva Aishwarya. Sarva Aishwarya becomes Sarveshwari. Aishwarya, we also already saw this shakti earlier. Sarveshwari. Sarveshwari is lordship over everything. Lordship over everything. Your hand will never go like this and ask anybody anything. In your consciousness, you will always say, what can I give? What can I give? What can I give? Because you're the Lord. That lordship mentality comes. How can I make this really good? How can I make this really good? Because people have to be, somebody has to get it. So how can I make this gift the best gift possible? How can I make this gift a touching gift, right? So things like that. Everything you become, you begin to experience and allow this divine energy of Sarveshwari come. Whenever we catch ourselves, and I've done this 1,000 times in Baba's presence, and many years later as well, but it has slowly begun to dawn on me, and I've understood that there is no room for beggar mentality. There is no room for victim mentality. There is no room. The moment I get into what we famously call self-pity mode, that is the most dangerous mode. Oh, poor me. Why is this happening to me? Why am I always like this and that? We enter into self-judgment, self-pity. We love it because it's exactly what the ego wants. Another excuse to be where it is, keep you trapped. That's what we need to break away from. See, when we studied the Sundarakand, we understood this as when Hanuman was going over the ocean, he saw his shadow slowing him down, and we understood the deeper meaning. It's like that. Never allow self-pity in your consciousness. Say, it's okay. I must have done something. I deserve it. It's hard. It's painful. So he said, give me the strength to go through this experience. Don't say, take this experience away from me. I cannot bear it. Oh, it's too much pain. No. Embrace it. You and I are co-creators of our destiny, of our lives. And so this is part of that. And that experience, however uncomfortable it could be, and it could also be beautiful, but we are always afraid of the uncomfortable ones, right? The difficult ones, the sad ones, the experience of loss and so on. So however difficult that is to go through, that is where you have to experience Lordship. I have created the circumstance in my life. There is something for me to learn, so let me learn. Let me not ask question why this is happening, what this is happening, and waste time on self-pity. Then the picture comes clear what needs to be done to prevent this from happening again. It's very clear. We may not like the solution that is presented to us, but our consciousness presents a very clear solution. A solution to anything, whether it's a physical illness, whether it's a mental illness, whether it is a physical loss, mental loss, whatever it is, a solution presents itself. Not immediately, but the more we begin to accept rather than fight and resist, Sarveshwari, the Lordship comes. I am the Lord. I manifest all these experiences. The buck stops with me, as they say these days. So Sarveshwari, it's a beautiful energy. So she becomes, I am the Lord. I will manifest whatever I want in this consciousness. Right? Sarveshwari, she manifests. And then finally, most beautiful is Kaulini. Kaulini. Kaulini, Kula. Kula is lineage. Lineage is where does your grandfather come from? Where does your great grandfather come from? Now in United States of America, we say, where does your family come from? Right? So ancestry maybe to some extent, yes, ancestry to some extent. But I'm talking of even instead of going way beyond that, we can say, oh, I'm from Ireland, somebody's from Germany, somebody's from India, somebody's from Sri Lanka, and so on. So we have that lineage to go back to. And then it goes further back. Right? Not only the country you're born, place you're born, but it goes to the great-grandfather and so on. So ancestry. Where do we come from? The Genome Project and the Genes Project, they all traces all to Africa and all of that. That's all good. But that's not a complete, that is just the manifestation of the body principle. Evolution as we define it in our body terms. So I have a genealogy, if you will. I have a lineage that I can go back to. But this Kaulini, because that is all conditioned, right? I have to break free. I've already broken free. Vimala has come and taken me out of that. So finally the ultimate lineage opens up. Where am I coming from? I come from God. I am. So Shakti realizes she comes from Shiva and she's part of Shiva. Kaulini. Without that 8 triangle, this is where without that 8th, let me finish that thought. Without that 8th triangle, we cannot even take one step inside. This is that. Baba has given us such a beautiful mantra. I can never get tired of saying that. He said, say this every birthday. I'm sorry. Say this every day. On his birthday, he gave us this. Say this every day, he said. And that mantra is, I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. I am Akhanda Parabrahman, the absolute, indivisible, supreme. I am Sat Chit Ananda, truth, consciousness, divine bliss. That powerful message of I am God is the real lineage. That is our home. That is where we came from. Do we get up in our morning proud of that lineage? Do we go to sleep saying, I want to go back home? In the depths of my consciousness, I want to go back to being God. Paramahamsa Yogananda says, sleep is where you are God. to give us an idea what that experience is. That's why we love sleep, because there is so much peace. So imagine if sleep is so good, a little taste, and that's a fine, minuscule taste of being God. What that being God would be, Modinye and all of that energy. The word bha, gha, van and all, someday when the context presents, we'll understand. The 6 Aishwaryas, they say, the wonders come when you be God. But you and I are. That is our lineage. So this is where she manifests herself. Once this energy, once she manifests, there's no more Sunder here. This is where Sunder says, I am God. As long as I say I'm Sunder, I'm not here. And that's okay. Because this is a matter of grace. Sheer grace. All our effort goes up to the 6th Avarna. 7th, 8th, 9th is only a matter of grace. And that grace doesn't come from somewhere else. It will happen. How? I don't know. I wish I could explain that. It's the easiest way to say, she is there, she will help you. It's the easiest way, but she is not there. She is you. That's the lineage we are talking about. Kaulini. The mighty Shakti principle. You and I are part of that. We are rays of this mighty sun that is rising in Aruna. You and I are rays of that sun. Even if we find it difficult to identify ourselves as the sun himself, it's perhaps easier to say, I'm the ray of that glorious sun. He has cast me as his ray into one direction. Let me be that beautiful ray and play my role. Maybe I have to light up the dark dungeons of a prison somewhere in some corner of the world. May it be, but that doesn't belittle who I am. I'm still the ray of the sun. Another ray of that sun may be lighting up the palace of a king. That doesn't make that ray of the sun any richer than he already is, because he is the ray of the sun. So if you ask this ray, this little ray of light that is entering a little prison cell, and say, where do you come from? The ray of the light will say, I come from the sun. That's my lineage. I come to light up the prison cell. Even the darkest dungeons are lit up because the ray of the light comes from the sun. You and I can be that ray. We are that ray of the sun. That is our lineage. This is one of the most powerful avaranas, because when these shaktis manifest, then divine experiences and identification of who you are undergoes a paradigm shift. You will no longer be limited to thinking you are X or Y or Z. You will know a part of you, will identify yourself with that, and that is okay, because there's a role that you are playing. But when you close your eyes, you will know that your true lineage is nothing more, nothing less than God himself. I mentioned this earlier as well when we studied the Sundarakand and the Hanuman, but it's worth again mentioning here. Hanuman was asked, what is your relation with Rama? Sometimes you say you're a servant of Rama, sometimes you say Rama is my Lord. What is your relation? He says, when I am in my body consciousness, when I identify myself with my body, then I am a servant. Rama is my master. What he says, I will obey. When I identify myself with my emotions, my mind, my faith, then he is my Lord. I am his devotee. I adore him. I worship him. I meditate. I contemplate on his qualities. But when I close my eyes and go deep within myself in search of who I am, I find him. And at that moment, he is not different from me. when I identify myself with my spirit, then Rama and I are one. So Hanuman knows his lineage is Rama. And yet he plays the role. He says, yes, when I am a warrior, when I do my duty in life, I will do it as a servant of Rama. The link between him and his lineage is not broken. He takes different relationships, but the link is strong. At home, you call your father maybe Appa or Dad or whatever it is, lovingly at home. But if he's a headmaster and you're going to the same school and you go to the school, you can't say, Appa, Appu, help me, or Dad, come on, Dad. You can't. You've got to say, yes, sir, no, sir. It is the same relation. That has not changed. The same love, the same passion, the same strong bond has not changed. But the roles that we take at that moment in our life or in our day, we keep the connection strong. The act changes, the words change, the emotions change, the relationship appears to change, but it is held together in a bond of love. So Kaulini is the highest lineage. We cannot afford to forget that. I will link all of this together, and that needs more time. So I don't want to start something and go to the and leave it halfway. So I will take it in the next satsang, and we will explore how does this become a sadhana? Where does all this fit into our practice? There is a traditional practice that almost every one of us who are from the Sanatana Dharma lineage, if you will, or born in India and so on, we have taken that practice for granted. But that is one of the most enriching, most powerful, and that practice takes us to this avarana. What is that practice? We will explore that in the next, because that is indicated in the third time the 8 triangles have presented themselves. The number 8 comes 3 times, and the third time it comes in the form of triangles. So let us wait for this divine energy to manifest in the form of these 8, in the same energy manifesting in this 8 beautiful, enriching, enlightening, empowering divine energies within us, so that we simply become instruments, empty, like the flute in Krishna's hands, like the sheep under the control of Jesus, as he was known as the Good Shepherd, or the cowherd, Krishna, who protected the cows and raised a whole mountain to keep them safe. This is a game of the highest consciousness, a game of life. The I in you, the I in me, is simply a manifestation of that game. Whether I am the ray of light in a dungeon and you are the ray of light in a palace, let's enjoy this. It doesn't belittle me. It doesn't enrich you any more, any less. Because you and I are just manifestations of a divine dance of Shiva and Shakti. With that in mind, let us bring this satsang to a close. But before I do that, I have to share a very beautiful thing. My in-laws, Maya's mother and father, have been in US for some time. They have been with Maya's sister, and they just came over, and they are going to be with us for a while at KYG at home. Many, many years ago, Baba had given my father, manifested a Shivalingam for my father, and he had kept it with him during his puja. And when my father died, within a few months, the marriage happened, and we continued. And until 2011, my mother passed away as well. So she was taking care of the lingam, because I said, Swami has given Dad, and if Appa is not there, Amma, you take care of it. So my mother was taking care of the lingam, doing her regular puja to it, and looking after her as her precious possession, which was directly blessed and given by Bhagavan himself. And so when she passed away, although it was tempting for me to keep it, I decided to hand it to my father-in-law, because he is the next father in line. And my mother-in-law, I said, this Baba had not given me, he had given my parents. And so now the next parents that are around are you, so you all take care of it. And they have done a wonderful job taking care of that lingam. So they carry the lingam with them whenever they want, and we took a small shot of that lingam. So right now the lingam on the Sri Chakra is the black lingam which Bhagavan had given. I believe it was 1990. Very beautifully blessed my father and said, "You're doing so much puja. Here, keep this. Continue your puja." So the one who taught us that I am God, I am not different from God, also showed us the path. He didn't say, "Oh, lingam and all is simply symbolic. I'm going to take you off rituals and so on." He said, "No, if this is your path, go for it and do it with full bhava." My mother asked him playfully, and this is strictly for my parents, just to teach them a lesson, because they were to a large extent even orthodox at that point. So they said, "How do we worship? Should we do lingam? Should we do milk worship? What do we do, Swami? Please tell us. You have given us this lingam. It's such a rare thing." And you know what Swami told them? He said, "You drink tea or coffee in the morning?" They said, "Yes." "Pour it on that lingam. Say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Sai Ram, whatever comes to your mind. Pour it and drink that tea and coffee. That Abhishekam is okay." The point being that it is not the rituals per se, but it is the feeling with which we do these acts, because all of these are a reminder of the divinity within. This was Shiva himself telling us. And yet when we make a puja, we make it so complicated sometimes, and we make it so complicated that people are afraid. "Oh, what if I do a mistake? No, I don't want something bad to happen to me." And then they shy away from the whole act. And yet you find stories in the past of Kannappa Nayanar and all those great saints who put their foot on the lingam because they wanted to get something and offer, right? And there are so many stories like this. What are they teaching us? What is Baba himself with this lesson teaching us? I'm not saying Baba has done this and everybody should offer tea and coffee. Please don't misunderstand me. This was a dialogue between my parents and Baba. He told them, don't get caught up in all these other things. Should I pour milk? Should I pour curds? Yes, if you can, if you want to, if it gives you joy, fine, right? But the divinity is not asking for all of that. It doesn't manifest because you are pouring curd or milk. If we understand why we are doing it, then that process of that act of us awakens the divinity within us. And so Baba told my mother, if you are having tea in the morning, pour tea and drink that tea. That is how simple Shiva looks into this, because his goal is to awaken you to your own reality. Let us bring this satsang to an end with this most beautiful chant as always, Om Shri Matre Namaha.
Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha.
Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु.
May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Jai bolo pavan sut hanuman ki
जय
सियावर रामचंद्र की
जय
सतगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की
जय
नमः पार्वती पतये
हर हर महादेव. ओम शांति शांति शांति.